afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Herald Washington American Legion Post 1987 Hotline. My co-anchor person is not here today. He's off doing something else, and that's Anthony Travis. But today, for our first opening, have Bruce Parry, representing CVO, which is the Coalition of Veterans Organization, which I'm also a member of that. And I'm also the commander of the Herald Washington American Legion Post 1987 and the 3rd District of Chicago, 1st Division commander as well. Let me welcome you, Bruce.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
The first one, 2019.
100 years in the American Legion.
100 years.
There you go. That's absolutely awesome.
Thank you for coming. And we go back a long way. Not that long. It should have been longer than that. But he's inspired me about the organization, which is CBO, and all the representatives that it has. But without further ado, I'm going to let him tell you about the story. Tell me about yourself first.
Okay, about myself first. I actually grew up in New Jersey, but I went to Valley Forge Military Academy for high school and then to West Point for college. I was commissioned in the infantry in 1968, went to Airborne Ranger, jungle expert, and then within a year I was in Vietnam. I served with the 1st Cav Division in the 1st Battalion, 8th Cavalry, which was an infantry battalion, infantry company. I served as a platoon leader and company commander. I also served at the battalion level. I saw a lot of combat and basically was there for 20 months. I extended one time to be a company commander, and then they extended me a little bit longer, so I wound up there 20 months. After that, I spent 3 more years in the Army at Fort Benning, home of the infantry.
Okay.
I was a company commander there and a personnel officer, and went to school for 9 months. And then I got out of the Army and did a little traveling, but I wound up getting a PhD in economics and teaching at the University of Baltimore. And I had moved to Baltimore after I got out of the Army. And from there, I moved to Chicago. I was an economic consultant here, and I still do economics, but I've been involved in the veterans movement. Starting in Baltimore in about 1979, 1980, I was part of the founding of Vietnam Veterans of America. We also had a group called the Fraternal Order of Veterans, and I continued on in 2007. Here in Chicago, we had a meeting, and it was called by Rochelle Crump, who is now the president and head of National Women Veterans United, and David Rogers, who we lost last September.
Yeah, David Rogers.
That's it. And they called a meeting of all the leaders of the veterans movement in Chicago, and it was held at the Montfort Point Marine Association. And basically, I was the only one in the room that didn't have an organizational position. So I became the chair of that, and it wound up being called the Coalition of Veterans Organizations.
Which is CVO.
CVO, right, exactly. And we've done a lot of things over the years. We've took 3 buses and 100 vets down to Washington, D.C., met with representatives and senators in the Veterans Affairs Committee, and told them what the problems that we were facing. We've had a number of town hall meetings. We've had a number of candidates forums. We've been at the forefront of getting the crisis hotline straightened out. That was a real problem, and it's not completely solved yet. But we did get the Inspector General of the VA after it, and so they did clean that up. And we're currently working on dental care for all veterans.
Yeah, let's talk about that, you know, because this is the 3rd or 4th year we've been discussing the Dental Care Act, right?
Yeah.
And I know when it first came up in front of us in the limelight of it, that we know we had to struggle for this.
Absolutely.
And it's the main thing that we're trying to do is getting veteran organizations and our legislatures to hear us out to vote on this package, because see, where it's so hard for the veterans, if you got 100%, where you could get dental free.
That's right.
That's no problem if you're 100%. But see, now the problem is about the veterans that's not 100%, but need the dental care because, see, a lot of bad hygiene from your teeth cause a lot of health problems. And see, this is one of the solutions that we've been trying to fight for. And it's H.R.
96.
96.
H.R. 96, and that's something like 43 co-sponsors in the House of Representatives right now. And Larry Nazemick and Mark Wyman, two of our members, our vice chair actually, and Mark Wyman is a dentist, and they are working on this and really leading the charge on dental care. And we've got a lot of co-sponsors, but we definitely need the help and support of everybody we can. As Commander Frank just said, it's a health problem. It's a question of health. And for instance, I mean, there are many, and we have a list. We have a white paper on this, on the need for dental care. And even heart disease is related directly to dental health. And that's something that ought to be covered by the VA.
Yes, and it's hard that, you know, as a veteran, ourselves, that, you know, what we have to struggle for and fight for is, you know, because, see, we already have bad enough problem trying to get this bill passed because of, you know, your dental health plans. Because, see, you know, you get gum diseases, it's a lot of things that contribute to your mouth.
That's right.
And then, too, is your health. What it may, the decay of whatever may be, how it goes through your system and stuff. And a lot of people don't think about this. But see, what we're trying to do, as long as you served honorably, and then to be a veteran, you know, to be recognized. But see, you know, by being a veteran, just because you're a veteran, you're not always recognized as certain things because, see, they're going by how much percentage you got. You know, things like that. It shouldn't be that way because once you sign on the dotted line, then, what, 180 days?
That's it. You sign on, when you put up your hand, you're a veteran, you know, as far as we're concerned. And, you know, there are some technical aspects to it. You got to serve, usually you got to serve about 180 days. But the fact of the matter is, you don't have a choice as to what you're going to do in the military. You put up your hand, they tell you what you're going to do.
Right.
And, you know, some people do this and some people do that, but we're all veterans and we all need to stand together on that front. And all veterans need health care. The CVO has developed 5 strategic priorities, and the first one is to get rid of the priority system that blocks some veterans from getting VA health care, get rid of the means test, get rid of co-payments, and make sure that we have VA health care for all veterans. That's our #1 strategic goal, and this fight for dental care is part and parcel of that.
And here's another thing that a lot of veterans be hollering about is the mean test.
That means test is the most demeaning thing. Well, the means test is basically a way of finding out what your financial situation is. And if they deem the financial situation to be that you have too much money, then you have to pay co-pays, and they have a series of 8 priorities and some sub-priorities, so they're actually more than 8. And they, ranging from, you know, you're a Medal of Honor winner or something like that, priority 1, combat, you know, and served in combat.
The list goes on.
Yeah, and it goes down to you make too much money and you weren't in combat, and they divide those people off. And there are a group of people in priority 8 and some in priority 7 that are not eligible for VA health care. And that's just wrong. That's just wrong.
Yeah, because
we're fighting against that tooth and nail. And that means test, I have one of our members' mother was a nurse in World War II. She was a lieutenant, and she came down to the VA to get health care from the VA. And they sat her down and tried to give her this means test. And she was so embarrassed by the means test that she got up and walked out and never got her VA health care, her VA benefits, because it was so demeaning to her to have to talk about her personal finances and tell that, you know, basically you wind up begging for health care. Now today, that stuff is done behind the scenes, but the means test is still there and the priority system is still there, and that has to go.
And that's wrong, because see, the idea, you didn't sign your name on the dotted line, you didn't raise your right hand and say, I, whoever, John Smith or whatever, Gloria Davis or whatever, you know, and now once you take that, then when you say, I do, and that's the critical point, once you say, I do, it's done. You belong to the federal government. You belong to the United States. So now you got to serve your time. And you get out with an honorable discharge. Now you thought that you had...
Or under honorable conditions.
Or whatever it may be. But see then, if it's under honorable conditions, they have ways, just like the John Marshall Law School. Have people now that will help you get your discharges upgraded. But still and all, you are a veteran. You done signed over your life to the United States government. And now to ensure the civilians your freedom, your safety and everything. But we have to go out there to secure this. So when we come back home, we're looking forward for something that the federal government should give back freely to us. We're so freely to sign our names and stuff. How come it's taking so much problem for us to get something from the government? Because just as far a lot of people go to put a claim in, you know, it's hard, because just as Bruce was telling you about the Demean Test, they want to know this, they want that. And then if you're not accepted, I mean, you're going to have to pay out your pocket, or you're going to have to find some kind of way to live.
That's right.
And that's not right for being a veteran.
That's right. And that's a kind of thing that leads to homeless veterans that refuse to come into the VA or have no economic means to keep themselves going. And that there is no greater, we are also committed to end veteran homelessness. There's no greater disgrace in the United States than the fact that we have veterans who have served this country on the streets and unable to find a place to stay. And we have that. We also have one of our strategic missions is full equality of women's and men's health care in the VA system. Women have special needs, and of course we know that today 17% of the military are women, and women are playing wider and wider roles, combat roles, and there is nothing in the military closed to them, so more and more veterans are women, and we need to make sure that they have the care that are, you know, that they deserve as veterans as well. Despite the special needs and everything else, that needs to be covered by the VA.
And then especially about the women veterans. Now, by working with the Veterans Administration, CVO, and a lot of other organizations, women are being heard loudly, because about 5 or 6 years ago, we know they served, they know they served, but see that they didn't have the opportunity that the male veterans had, just as for housing and stuff like that, you know, and special care and stuff. But see that there, you know, if they had to fight all over again for their recognition. But now, we all, as veterans, as a whole, not separately, as a whole, we're fighting for each other now. And we're making sure that the women now are getting just as much as they deserve than we thought they should have.
Yeah, I want to encourage everybody to join CVO, to have your organization join CVO. And I actually want to read the list of organizations here on this, because, you know, we have the 24th Infantry Regiment, Buffalo Soldiers, the 555th Parachute Infantry Association, the Triple Nickel, which is, of course, the first African-American paratroopers in the Army. We have American Legion Post Dory of 915, which is Dory Miller, and, of course, American Legion Post Harold Washington Post 1987. So if your post isn't a member of CVO, get in touch with us. The information is right here on your screen. You can look at coalitionofvets.org. It's really easy to remember, coalitionofvets.org. Blind Veterans Association has been a member. The Montfort Point Marine Association, Chapter 2, Chicago Chapter 2. Muslim American Veterans Association, and the Mexican American Veterans Association, both called MAVA. Gets very confusing sometimes. National Women Veteran United, which is Rochelle Crump, an organization of women veterans. Veterans for Foreign Wars, the Major Harris Post 2024 has been a member. Veterans for Peace, those who fight for peace in our time, the Chicago chapter. Veterans for Unification, which also fights for veteran health care, and they meet out in Oak Park. Veteran Strike Force, which is a major force down at Jesse Brown VA Medical Center, and takes care of vets and gives them information and backs them up. Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 311, and the VetNet. And the VetNet is an organization that fights particularly against homelessness and to take care of veterans in need. And these, and to be of service of them, so for all veterans. So these are just a few of the organizations. So we want your organization to join.
Hello, caller, come in.
Hello. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Sure.
I would like to know a little bit more about your HR 96.
Okay, HR 96 is a bill that is in front of the House of Representatives that calls for dental care for all veterans and makes it available to all veterans within the VA healthcare system. It has, and the number keeps changing, so don't hold me to it, about 42 co-sponsors right now, including much of the Illinois delegation. And so we've been out rallying the Illinois delegation to get them. And we have been fighting for this bill. The bill was in the last Congress, and of course you have to re-enter the bill in the new Congress as it develops. So it is currently called HR 96, and we are, if you can look at co-sponsors by going up on the congress.gov website and find out if your congressman is sponsored it, co-sponsored. If not, please call them and ask them to co-sponsor.
When will it be coming up for vote?
Well, that, of course, is going to depend on the House of Representatives and on the Majority Leader, Nancy Pelosi, and on the Veterans Affairs Committee that will be considering the bill. So we will, I don't have that information right in front of me, how it's going, but we have some power behind it right now, so we're hoping it will come up for a vote soon.
Well, I think that's pretty important. So I'll try to pay attention to it, and if it comes up for vote, I'll be sure to support it.
Okay, but here's what you do. Take this number down and give us a call. Keep in touch with us, and that way we could get in touch, keep you informed about the different things that we do and about the legislation, because each month, every third Friday of each month, we get together and we discuss this.
Third Wednesday.
Third
Wednesday of every month.
My fault.
Right. So that's coming up a week from this Wednesday. Let's see, 8th, 10th, so it'll be the 17th of this month. We meet at the Jesse Brown VA Medical Center in the conference room on the second floor, and it's the third Wednesday of every month. We will be there. And we also, I've listed the organizational members. We do have individual members, so come and join us at any time. Just show up for the meeting, and if you feel like joining, our dues are really low. We keep them low so everybody can afford them. $10 a year for an individual member. Organizations, we ask $50 a year, but we need the individual members to help do exactly what you're saying. Carry the message, to get excited about this bill and to work on it, and to get others to be excited about it as well, because it's very important.
It is. I'll certainly take the number down, and I will keep in touch.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, let's get back to this. Okay, about all the organizations that's with us. I'm letting everybody know this is what it's all about. Veterans from different organizations coming together, because see, this is historic for us, not just for the city of Chicago, but for all veterans. You know, that's mainly in the Cook County area, or if you're a veteran, period, need information about services that you could get in your neighborhood or something like that. This is what we're for. If you're a veteran, come to one of our meetings and sit in, and then you can ask some questions. You can find out a lot of things that you may not hear on the TV. You may hear a little bit of pieces or something like that, but you're not too sure. But as they say, come to the source. CVO is the source. This is where everything be discussed about veterans, whether you're a veteran at Jesse Brown, Lakeside, Hines, or Auburn Russian, or whatever it may be.
That's right.
We discuss all of this because, see, we are veterans, and we have a motto: veterans don't never leave another veteran behind.
Leave no veteran behind. That's it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we are leaving veterans behind. The VA is leaving veterans behind, and it takes federal legislation to change that. So it's important that everyone get involved and do a little bit. If we all get involved and do a little bit, everything will get done, and we'll have the power we need to get the things that we need.
And then, just like I say, you know, listeners, it takes you all to help us, to help you, because we know what we're fighting for. But see, the idea, we need those that we're fighting for to help speak up with us, because see, the idea, we can only do so much, but we could do a lot with your help.
I'll give you an example. We go talk to the local representatives, to the congressional representatives. When we go, we have to have somebody from their congressional district. Otherwise, they don't listen, right? Are you in our congressional district? Well, we have, with all these organizations, we have thousands and thousands of members. But we have to have a physical body to show up and go with us to the congressional office and to talk to the representatives. That's an example of the kind of thing we need individuals to do, and to help build the organization and to help fight for the basic rights of veterans across the board.
Yes, because see, just as when it comes down to voting as a representative and things like that, just like congressmen and everything like that, don't forget, you are a constituent. You are a voter. You have the right for this. And this is what they need to find out. Are you speaking up for your rights? Because they don't know. Unless you speak up, call in, get on the internet. You know, it's ways you could do this. But see, the idea, help us, help you. That's the only way we could ever fight this. And the idea about being a veteran means so much because, see, you have served honorably. And you have to keep on serving until you can't serve no more. This is because the idea we're still fighting for different bills. We're still fighting for different benefits. So we need your help. If you're not a veteran listening to the show, you got family out there, you got friends out there, you know a veteran. Let that veteran know. But half an hour, go ahead right quick.
Well, I just want to mention a couple of other things that we're doing. One of our major priorities is Veterans Against Violence. We have a group that works specifically to end the violence on the streets and works with other organizations to end the violence on our streets, because as veterans we've seen violence and we know it doesn't belong on our streets. And we also have a group that works to end the fights to block the privatization of the VA, because they're actually limiting VA health care by privatizing it and sending veterans out into the private sector. So we are very active on a lot of different fronts, and we need the help of every veteran that we can get to get and put forth the needs for veterans. We have a solid program. That program is outlined in this book, which you can come to the meeting.
We have to wrap it up now, but I'm glad to have you here.
Oh, it was wonderful to be here, and thank you very much, Commander.
It's too short, but you know it's
always too short, but that's right.
I want to thank you very much. We want to say good night all and take care, and God bless you.